time now to see what the newspapers, of course, are reporting this morning, and for Satya and me to read between the lines.
Charu, I'm looking at the Mint, and I have this nice article on page 17 by Biju Dominic.
Okay.
Can punishment change human behavior?
Oh, that is an age-old debate,
isn't it? I do not even have to read the article, but it is a topic that can get anybody's imagination going, and I wonder if there is ever any solution to that. But Dominic says he talks about behavior by brain. So, do punishments deter more wrongdoing? Do punishments actually reform an offender? Given the present context of one of the most significant initiatives in the history of independent India to fight corruption, the answers to these significant questions assume huge significance.
Wow.
Now,
okay.
in the current framework, punishment is seen as an end in itself. Yeah, very few punishment systems seek to change the offender's behavior and help him to a new path. Studies show that 60% of those in the US set free after serving a prison sentence will be rearrested within 3 years.
My God.
Now, that figure is close to 60% in UK, rising to 70% for those who have served at least 2 previous sentences. Now, can we develop a punishment system whose ultimate end is to change the behavior of the offender on a sustained basis? Now, we often see that the way we are fined while jumping the traffic signal or even driving under the influence, there is a monetary punishment to it.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, how does it work? How does the monetary punishment work? If you have money, keep throwing out money and keep repeating your offenses.
That's what a lot of people do.
Yeah. So for most today, for most wrongdoings ranging from jumping a traffic signal to spitting in public places to driving under influence of alcohol, the punishment is almost always an economic one.
That's true.
Monetary fines, economic disincentives tend to trigger cognitive evaluation of non-conformity. That's very, very natural.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I will do it again and I will pay you more money for it.
Right.
You know, how does one actually stop that? So in medieval times, both the judicial process and the punishments were almost always public.
Right,
It was public flogging, it was you know, blood for blood as the pre-medieval times.
Yeah, an eye for an eye, yeah.
Exactly. So today the whole legal and punishment processes have moved to the confines of the courtroom. So that's really the only difference. Now, getting a person to make a commitment is one of the surest ways to inculcate new behavior.
Okay.
Can the new punishment system seek a commitment from the offender that he will not repeat his crime? You know, how there is a lot of importance given to making a confession. Now, confession, while is done in absolute privacy, making a commitment in a court of law or in a public forum, studies say that they tend to change human behavior such that they do not want to create that, commit the same crime again, commit the same offense again, only because of the pressure of having spoken in public. Yeah, so that's very interesting, but this does take me to the perpetual question of what is the correct way of dispensing justice? What is a punishment to something like the 9/11, which is just so etched in our minds?
I was just thinking that. I mean, you know, when someone has committed a crime which just seems to be so unforgivable, then what exactly is it that you're looking for? Aren't you just, sometimes you just want to just punish, and do we essentially, are we always looking at reform? Even that is a question.
Yes.
What is it that society really wants? Does society want to punish, or does society actually want reform?
And some peace.
And peace.
And how do you deal with this collective angst? You know, the collective angst for an event such as the 9/11.
Yeah.
Sitting in India, in New Delhi, I could feel something, and even now I think of that and I'm angry.
I know, I remember that so clearly. For that matter, 26/11, which was, of course, the terror attack on India. So, I mean, I was aghast, you know, I couldn't move. I was sitting in front of the television for 2 whole days just watching these events unfold in my country. It really does something to you.
Yeah.
Or the December 16th rape, Nirbhaya rape case in Delhi. So what do we want? Do we want punishment or do we want reform? That really is a question,
big question.
that we need to ask ourselves as society. Well, I have an article here from the DNA. It says scarred women bake away their woes in a Chennai cafe. And it's strange, Satya, that this story, I'm talking about the story right after we talk about punishment and reform, because this is actually a story about reform. Marked by scars, the staff at the Writers' Cafe learn new skills to forge financial independence. The Writers' Cafe in Chennai is hiring women who have in some ways been terrible victims of violence in abusive marriages. A lot of the women here have deep scars that are running down their faces and necks because they have, well, one of the victims here, Asma, poured kerosene on herself and lit a match after reaching breaking point in an abusive marriage. So these are attempted suicides, obviously, which have left them, which didn't go through, or perhaps they were never meant to go through. Like Asma herself in this article admits that she was not hoping to die. She was simply hoping, you know, to create a deep enough scar to actually get some sympathy and some love from her husband, who would otherwise just beat her, which she didn't get. And so she, you know, and of course now with her burns is finding it extremely difficult. Now this is a cafe that actually hires these people who have women who have been victims of violence, and it trains the women to bake cakes. And it says that now here is, you know, punishment versus reform. Is this not reform? Is this not showing them another way? Is this not pointing them towards another direction? Women who thought that they had lost everything. Women who were ready to immolate themselves, you know, kill themselves. So it says here that their aim is to create a positive workplace where the women are not judged for past actions. We were just talking about the judicial system. We were just talking about judgment. Don't we judge ourselves? Isn't that another way of creating our own prisons? We carry those around everywhere.
That's right. That's right. Well, talking about baking, I have a story on some imagination.
Baking your imagination.
Baking your imagination. Because Dipanta Nath in the Indian Express says there is some need for imagination. Need. That's right. Is there a connection between art and bread? Home baker Sujit Sumitran shares the do's and don'ts.
Too many puns there. Pun overload.
So, culture isn't the only thing common to art and bread. Over 1 hour at the Serendipity Arts Festival in Goa, Sumitran showed that making or eating bread is like creating or savoring a masterpiece. We talked about the Serendipity Art Festival in Goa some time ago, which is on till 23rd of December. That's tomorrow. Sumitran spoke about the connections between art and do's and don'ts of baking, and in the context of baking being an art in itself. So even if you have been baking for years, every time you open the oven to take out what's inside, you pause and you say, I hope it turns out right, because you will never, ever be 100% sure. He said that's why baking bread is often called an alchemy.
An alchemy. I like that. And that is so true, because, you know, there's only that much that you can do when you put something into the oven. You make sure the batter is right, you know, you prepare everything very carefully, and then you wait for 1 hour while, you know, the heat and the soda and everything does its work. So, yeah.
And then when the aroma of baking just spreads across the room, it's heaven.
Something else.
It's heaven. What can
you know,
I say?
we should start baking for WION Breakfast, don't you think, Satya?
I totally think we should, and we will.
I think we should totally incorporate some food into our breakfast show. Well, moving on to the next article here, because festive season is coming up, and of course we all wish for Santa.
Yay!
So this is an article from the DNA. It says, meet the teen Santas who come without clauses.
Okay, I like the pun. We are all about punning today.
So teens jazz up others' festivities because why not?
Why not?
Why not? They
Seriously.
say, why not? So Christmas, of course, is the most joyful festival, says one of the teens who is totally dedicated to spreading joy this festive season. And she says the season is all about sharing and bringing a smile on people's face. And so she plans to spend some time with the senior citizens in old age homes, as they are the most neglected ones. She wants to hear them and understand their problems. And it's just her little bit that she can do from her side. And there are a lot more similar stories. People are collecting clothes and other necessities to donate to orphans. They are like just repeating these gift-giving sprees, which came into being just a few years ago, and they've been doing it every Christmas. And their strong belief over here is that they believe that everyone is a Santa for someone. Well, this is a small group in Mumbai, but I think this trend is fast spreading, just being a Santa for someone.
That's, you know, Christmas is that kind of time, and end of the year is festive season. Let's all spread the cheer by gifting something to the underprivileged. And you know what? Also exchanging gifts.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Exchange gifts.
Exchange gifts. Exchange gifts, the best way to go.